Hello and welcome to Marketing Solutions for Local Law Firms, the podcast that provides you with all the latest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you are looking to substantially increase your caseload in the next 6 months, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's the host of our show, the local business guy himself, Frank Deming.
Hello, everyone. This is Frank Deming, the local business guy, and welcome to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Law Firms. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day, everyone. I hope you guys are having a rockin' week thus far. Today, I have the privilege of doing another Meet the Attorney episode. And I'm going to introduce you to someone who wins all of his cases. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to the great Mike Alder. How's it going, Mike?
Good, man. How you doing?
I am loving life.
I am loving your vibe, bro. You are happy and make everybody happy, I bet.
Of course, man. I mean, I love Meet the Attorney. It happens to be the episode that gets downloaded the most, and I don't know why, but people love listening to you guys. Attorneys, cool. That is. All right. So before we get into today's topic, why don't you introduce yourself? Who are you and what do you do?
So I'm a trial lawyer and a part-time rancher and a very excellent dancer, father of 6, husband of a beautiful wife who is also my law partner. I grew up in the South in Louisiana. Went to LSU undergrad and law school, go Tigers. Clerked for a year at Mississippi Supreme Court and then moved out to Los Angeles. And I've been practicing in LA for 30 years. And I recently kind of reestablished my firm back in Louisiana. I have a ranch back there with animals and you name it, catfish ponds, and loving life back there. And I go back and forth. But my practice is overwhelmingly here in Los Angeles. And then over the years, 30 years, I was in Baltimore, 3-4 days ago, being interviewed by the Maryland State Attorney General's office to get involved in representing them in their groundwater contamination litigation. So I've kind of done a lot of things over the years and love doing it.
Awesome. Now, what are the major differences in terms of cases coming out of LA versus Louisiana?
The cases are the same. The values are different, right? And Louisiana has some venues that are very good, Baton Rouge and New Orleans. Not that there's not good jury pools for plaintiffs otherwise, but the biggest verdicts out of Louisiana come from the two big, urban areas, whereas in California, it's kind of everywhere, right? I mean, obviously, the market here is the largest market in the world in Los Angeles, but the jury pools can get very, very hyper-specific in smaller states, smaller populations. The same if you're trying a case up in California, and I'm about to start a trial. The entire county population, 6,200 people. I mean, that's like right? You try a case differently. That case has different value, right? When you say $10 million, nobody's ever, they're like, what are you, royalty? You talk about it downtown Los Angeles or downtown New Orleans. It's just a different thing.
Oh, that's interesting. PI is huge. I mean, there's medical malpractice. So what is your like specialty?
Well, I do all kinds of PI. In California, medical malpractice has had such a horrendous cap on damages and evidence limitations that it was really a very few people took med mal. Because we've recently been able to raise the cap and the attorney's fees, I've started to do some more med mal, but I'm a trial guy that tries personal injury cases of every kind, from products to car crashes to trip and falls to you name it. And then because I try a lot of cases, about 12 years ago, I got asked to try an employment case. And I'm like, Okay, I don't know anything about employment law, but I know how to try a case. I've never lost one now. And I've gotten punitives in like 90% of the cases. So now I have an employment practice as well, a workers' comp practice that my wife and I opened that helps people in the community, which I'm a big proponent of. And then recently, last couple of years, I was asked to try a toxic tort case for a municipality, and I got brought in. We got a $60 million verdict right off the bat. And now, like I said, Maryland just called me, and Puerto Rico, and I'm going to New Jersey. I'm going to a lot of different places, but that's not my primary practice. My primary practice is a trial like I'm doing in San Diego on Friday, which is an auto accident with some serious injuries, and these people need help, and the carriers are screwing them.
Let me ask you this. I've asked this to every single PI attorney who's been on the show. What are your concerns / thoughts about self-driving cars?
Been on the radar for at least 10 years. At least 10 years ago. Next year, self-driving cars are going to decimate our industry. 5 years ago, self-driving cars are going to destroy us all in the next year. We're no closer today than we are 10 years ago to decimating our industry. And I think, ask yourself, are you going to turn it over? Are you going to turn over your car to a self? I'm not. I know a handful of people, and I'm in the car, heaven here.
Yeah, in LA, yeah.
I know maybe one or two people that let their cars drive for them. So we're at least a generation or two for people doing that enough to let cars. And the ones that they don't have any drivers in, they get in an accident, and the automobile industry goes into high gear about, this is what I'm talking about, and it sets it back another 5 years or 10 years. So, but you raise change. What do you think about this change?
Yeah.
Bad, like it's bad, right? Or not. I'm not saying you, but I'm saying most people like this change is coming bad. And it doesn't have to be bad. It can be bad or good. And it really is a function of how you look at it, because change is always going to happen. Always. And if I'm thinking change is bad and change always happens, then I realize I'm going to be miserable. If change is good and change always happens, then I'm always good. And so whatever comes, right? My ability to adapt to that better than most, hell, maybe my practice gets bigger.
Right.
Maybe it runs people who don't know what they're doing out of business. Maybe some of those billboard people that never touch a case with a lawyer,
Yeah.
Maybe they go out of business.
Yeah. I like your perspective on that. Because I've heard different answers, and and it's true. Change is change. You just got to deal with it. It's always going to be something. But yeah, there's a huge push on the self-driving cars. But just like you, I'm a control freak, and I don't know. I think it would be weird seeing this car making a change and changing the signal and put on a signal light and without me doing anything. I don't know. I don't know
I've got a 19-year-old. There ain't no way she's turning over the reins to that car. She's not. That's a whole generation, right? So maybe it's her kids, right, that are going to do this. But
yeah, who knows? You never know, because I was just thinking about this. There are some people who are alive today who've never seen a phone with a cord.
Of course.
So yeah,
well, and is that bad? Is that good? Who gives a crap? It is what it is.
It is
right?
what it is. Yeah.
If you're like, well, I'm not going to make any calls unless that has a cord on it, you're going to die, right? You're not going to survive.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if I only make calls and I have my phone surgically attached to my head, then it's not a good thing.
It's not a good thing.
You got to adjust.
Right. Awesome. All right. So what are your favorite cases? Like which ones do you get most jazzed about when something comes through the door and says, "Hey, Mr. Alder, please try my case," and you get like the most pumped to get up in the morning and help your client?
It's so weird that you say that, because I literally got a text yesterday. Can I just tell you about it real quick? Because this encapsulates.
Sure.
I know this can be a bit unusual about how we only met one time, but I honestly think about you a lot. A couple of years ago, I lost my brother. I cry and I mourn all the time. Life was literally turning me into knots. I've been wanting to reach out to tell you what you did for me and my family and how it meant the world to me. You truly took care of me, making nothing in return, and I wish I could repay you for your generosity and big heart. I will never, ever forget you and what you did for me, my family, and more importantly, my brother. You truly are a blessing, and I thank God for placing you in my life.
That's
what?
special.
What kind of job can you make a difference in somebody's life for them to send you something like that? I'm like, what? Out of the blue, like, this person, I haven't spoken to them in 3 years, 2 years. That ability, obviously you got to make money, but that ability to take people. And when I tell all the lawyers in my firm, all the law students that I talk to, all the people in my class, I'm like, look, we deal with probably one of the five most important things that are going to happen in somebody's life. They're going to get married, maybe divorced, right? They're going to have kids, right? They're going to choose a career and go to college, or choose a career and work, and they're going to get seriously injured. They're going to lose somebody in their family member, right? One of the 5 or 6 most important things in their life. We have an opportunity, right, to make a real difference in one of the 20% of their life most important things that are going to happen to them. Mm-hmm. Pay attention. If they're calling you too much, because it's so important. So get over yourself, get out of your head, stop thinking they're imposing on you, and put yourself in their shoes.
In their shoes.
Right? Now, of course, there's, some clients that call you 1,500 times a day, and you got to, but if you're upfront with them and you say, this is what I expect of you, but this is what you can expect from me, that helps, right? You can set, the reason you want me is because I'm good, but because I'm good, it means I'm busy. Because I'm busy, it means that you're going to have to not just talk to me. You're going to have to talk to the paralegal, the other lawyers, but we're all in this together, and we're all together. And that's what it takes. Hell, I forgot your question, but this is all good stuff. So,
Basically my question was, what gets you jazzed? So what I'm hearing is receiving texts like that.
Incredible.
Is what gets you jazzed. Gotcha.
Incredible.
And that's amazing that it happened right before, a few days
lunch
before
yesterday on a Sunday yesterday. I'm like, what the hell is this?
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hello there, listeners. If you're an attorney and you would love to be a guest on the show so you can promote your services to people that listen to the show and beyond, give us a call at 888-416-7752 or send us an email at podcast@lbmsllc.com. One of my associates in the podcasting team will send you an email and connect with you, schedule some time, send you the podcast intake form, and schedule you to be interviewed on the show. So if that's something that you really would want to do, go ahead and take one of those actions, and we'll take it from there. So until then, enjoy the rest of the show. That's amazing. That was prep work for this interview. So out of curiosity, why PI? Like, why this segment of the law?
For me,
Yeah,
you want the made up answer or the truth?
I'd prefer the truth.
Well, the made up answer is, well, I was in an accident when I was 3 and I've always thought, no. Here's the truth. I went to school at LSU Law, and that school, like most, especially back in the late 80s, early 90s, who wants to be a PI lawyer? Nobody raised their hand. Nobody knew anybody. So I went through law school. I thought I wanted to be a tax lawyer. I worked for a tax professor, right? Then I clerked for Mississippi Supreme Court before moving to LA because my first marriage, I was married to a woman who was first in our class and was going to be an entertainment lawyer in LA. And I'm like, LA, let's roll. But when I got to the Mississippi Supreme Court, I thought I wanted to be a tax lawyer. And thank God my grades were so terrible that I couldn't get a job in LA as a tax lawyer, right? I'm literally, nobody would give me the time of day. And one of the justices, Chuck McCrae, wonderful man, was a trial lawyer, and he was cool, right? Because all trial lawyers are cool, right? And he took the clerks to his chambers, gave us a drink, and would tell war stories. And that's literally how I learned about plaintiffs law. And I'm like, this is really awesome. I really didn't know that I had an aptitude for it. I didn't do moot court or mock trials or any of that, really. And so I only applied to PI firms because he was there and he knew some people and he helped me. And literally I was 0 for 8. I had 8 interviews and 0 for 7. Nobody offered me a job. And on the 8th interview, somebody offered me a job. And I said, yes, I accept. And he goes, how much? You don't even know how much it costs. I'm like, I'm married to a sugar mama. I'm good. I just need a job. But literally that man who was a trial god generations before I hit him, he was kind of at the end of his career, got me my next job with my mentor, who was one of the greatest trial lawyers I've ever met. And then that training allowed me to open my own firm. And then, fast forward 1 or 2 more generations, and this is what I'm trying to help the next generation, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, one of the things that I found intriguing is before we hit record, we talked about building relationships. I thought that was a very fascinating conversation. I'm going to delve in a little bit into that. So, and you kind of segued right into it when you talked about helping this next generation coming through. Like, what do you think is the secret behind building relationships? You as an attorney, and how you can help someone who's just getting into, PI work now in terms of building relationships. What anything that you can help?
I mean, you are speaking my language. And if you've ever seen my Instagram or my YouTube channel, Alder Talk, I talk about this a lot, life and law. And here's the underlying foundation: consistently stepping outside your comfort zone and not allowing failure to become an identity, but instead, through perspective, looking at it as an event. And that says so much. It's uncomfortable to reach out to people you don't know. It's uncomfortable to ask people for things that you don't know. It's uncomfortable to put yourself in situations where you don't get a response or you get a no. It's uncomfortable to talk to somebody that you've never talked to, right? It's uncomfortable. And then it becomes really uncomfortable when you do it and you don't get a response, or you get a no, or you get 5 no's or 100 no's, because what we're all programmed, at least many of us, I failed, therefore I'm a failure. This hurts like shit. I ain't doing this again. Right? Your ability to consistently step into that discomfort and to reach out and to ask and to reach out and to ask and to follow up is so important because 95% of people will stop because it's so hard, uncomfortable. It's failure. I look at failure the wrong way. And so I tell law students, I teach a advanced litigation strategy skills. I just did this last fall here in LA. And I always open it to questions. And sure enough, how do I become a billionaire in 5 days or less, right?
Yeah.
How do I become the best trial lawyer in the next 2 years? And I say, make your bed every day and take a cold shower every morning. And they're like, let me leave this class because you're clearly demented and you're out of your gourd. And what the hell does that have to do with anything?
That's hilarious.
Right? And I say, taking a cold shower every morning, doing things that are uncomfortable, making your bed because you are the type of person that makes their bed, and for you, not for anybody else. If you're not willing to do those things, you will never be willing to do the things that are necessary consistently over time to become a billionaire of great whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're already pushing back about making your bed, about taking a cold shower and coming up with all the reasons why, well, it's not relevant. I don't need, who's going to see my bed, right? I don't like the cold. Maybe I'll do it later. Maybe when I'm older, but now I'm young and vibrant. I don't need a cold shower. That hurts. That's uncomfortable. Why? That's stupid. I don't believe it. All of the crap that we all talk about to prevent us from executing. Your ability to get through that and just do it. To just do it.
Mm.
When you really don't want to do it, that's for me now. Do it, do it, do it. I mean, when I'm like, I do not feel like, do it, because that compounds. And there's a part of our brain that grows when we do that over and over. And then when you got a closing argument in $100 million case and the world is watching and I can do this. I can get through stuff. I can step through fire. I can stand up in front of the world and be uncomfortable, and I can do it and survive it because I've done it, and I've done it 1,000,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what is required. That is what, in anything we do, from networking to family, to physical fitness, to relationships, to your business. Thank God it's hard. Thank God it's painful. Oh my God, it's so wonderful that shit always changes and it's always hard.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I just keep stepping through, 95% of people drop off. Certainly after a month, they're gone.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's the secret. It ain't sexy. It ain't fun. It's actually, once you wrap yourself around it, it's fun.
It's fun.
Right? Yeah, right?
Two things I learned, and you touched on both of them when I was becoming an entrepreneur from because I used to work just a regular job, and that's what I was used to. Two things I learned is number one is get comfortable being uncomfortable.
100%.
And number two, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And I've always held that close to my.
You're preaching my, to the choir right now, my man.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big language person, and I've written a book called The Trial Lawyer's Bible that I give away for free. That has not only litigation strategy and thoughts and networking strategy, but life lessons. But I also have a lot of quotes in there that I think, are helpful. And one of them is my quote, and I'm like, look, if you just replace negative words with worth it, listen to the difference. It's hard. It's difficult. It's scary. It's impossible. It's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it. Just that one little change. And when people in my office, they're like, they don't want to come talk to me because when they're like, man, this is really hard. I mean, you mean it's really worth it? And they're like, shut up. Right? But it's really true because how we talk is how we think, which is how we act. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. Do you ever plan on, because I know you said you recently just opened an office in Louisiana. Do you ever plan on just, like moving back, or you're LA for good?
I'll always be, I'm in both. And, we have a 50-acre ranch with like animals, cows and chickens and catfish and crawfish balls. And it's beautiful. I mean, it's an amazing place. So we love going back there. We have events. We have, it's wonderful. My nephew's getting married there in a week and a half.
Nice.
With remote, it's become a lot easier to not tell people where you are, right? So I could very well be in Louisiana now and you wouldn't know any better, right? You wouldn't know. So that allows for everybody to kind of transit. So right now, because of our blended family and our kid commitments with my bonus daughter's dad, we can only be there for so long before we come back, and that's totally fine. But as the kids get older, and I mean, I'm gonna, there's a direct flight, and we had a plane for a while, but we do so many flights. It's like we figured out, why spend so much money on those flights. But it's easy, and I love it. And I'm nothing like cutting grass and cutting down a tree to make your mind work, man.
No, I understand. So your wife's also is she also a trial lawyer, or
No, she's really kind of an head honcho, CEO, marketing. She's gorgeous. She speaks 4 languages. She's a networking machine, just a brilliant networker and tactician. And so, Gina, and everybody was like, well, Mike and Gina. I'm like, it ain't Mike and Gina. It's Gina and Mike. Come on now. Right? Come on. Right. So, and she's got a whole empowerment for women. She does just an amazing nationwide networking. And we do a lot of stuff together. Like we spoke at a law school here and, about you get a lot of law, but you don't get a lot of life. And that idea of being able to do whatever you want, but here's what it takes, resonates with some people. It resonates with everybody. Only some people actually follow up.
Gotcha. Wow, it's amazing. So you guys are a power couple.
Here we go. You tell me, brother. You tell me.
Yeah,
Come
there
on.
you go.
Right?
That's awesome. All right. So you it seems like you really love teaching. So do you ever see yourself giving up the law, practicing law and just going straight into, teaching / coaching?
I can do both. I love doing both. I think doing both gives me credibility in both. But I grew up in the South. My dad was a minister. My parents were people of God, in a good way. I say that because I know a lot of people in God that I don't necessarily think are good people. But I learned early on about giving and about connecting and about thanking and being grateful. And, I didn't really realize that they knew so much until the older I get, the smarter they seem to become. But I did learn about helping. And that's just kind of something that I do as a default, not realizing that a lot of people in LA are not necessarily like that, right? And people are like, why do you give so much? I'm like, why doesn't everybody? But it's good karma. It's a great way to live, but it is also good business. It is also very good business over So I don't have any conditions. My motto is to give unconditionally.
Mhm.
If you take advantage of me and I realize it, I ain't going to give to you anymore, but you got to go a long way to really kind of get on my shit list. And giving unconditionally allows me to give more, because if I'm expecting something back and I don't get it, then I'm not going to give as much. And that's just, it works for me,
Right.
and it's good. We like it.
Besides medical malpractice, are there any cases that you say would turn down, just out of curiosity? Because
I
it's
used
just
to
not.
do, I
Mhm.
used to do when I was less experienced. Now, notice I didn't say when I was younger, because that would mean that I'm older, and I'm not older. I'm just more experienced. So
There you
language,
go.
everything. Come
I
on.
love it. I love it.
I used to do auto products, roof crush, seat belts, right?
Hmm.
And the industry has done a good job of not settling any cases until you put up $500,000 in costs. And then, and so I send those away. I mean, it's just not in my bandwidth to spend that much time and money on one case when I've got, similarly situated size cases without all of that.
Hmm.
Um, I have done every kind of products case you can think about, but I'll turn away, or I'll refer to other people, auto products, certain med mal, dental mal, that kind of stuff. But pretty much everything else, I mean, I'm
Fair game.
a fair game.
Okay, that's awesome. So you've mentioned your book a few times. Can I get a link to the book? I mean, is it on Amazon or something, or it's
It's not on Amazon. It's on, if you go to either of my Instagram,
Mhm.
AlderLaw or Mike.Alder, in the link tree, there's a place to request it for free. And I used to give it away if you donated money. And I'm like, you know what? But it's a very, very helpful book for so many people. Not only have I written articles over the years, that's kind of a compendium. When COVID happened, and all of the less experienced lawyers that I've helped over the years, we're all freaking out, right? There's no cars on the road. And so I started a YouTube channel, Alder Talk, where I would answer questions kind of en masse. And a lot of them were practical litigation questions.
Mhm.
When do you serve? How long do you wait for filing? When do you take depots? What about this? What about this? And I had all that internal proprietary written down for all the lawyers in my office. And
Mhm.
I finally said, I talk about it so much, so I've added that to the Trial Lawyer's Bible. And so there's a lot of really good litigation advice. There's a lot of good law advice. There's networking advice. There's health advice. And then there's hardcore depot, closing, opening. And so I call it Trial Lawyer's Bible. But if you go on AlderLaw or Mike.Alder,
Mhm.
in the bio, there's a link tree and there's a section where you just fill it out and we'll send it to you.
I will definitely put a link to your Instagram on the show notes. I will also put a link to your website on there, which is it alderlaw.com.
Alder Law. And if you don't mind my YouTube Alder Talk, because I am killing it, I just monetized it. And I'm
Nice.
now up to $5.29 on YouTube. So I need those. My kids are following it. They're like, when you get to $10, we're going to Waffle House, right? I'm like, come on.
That's funny. Yep, definitely. I'll put your YouTube on there as well. All the stuff that I can put on, I'll put on it in the show notes here. This has been great, Mike. I'm really, really, really happy that you were able to take the time out and come. And after being in Baltimore and all, I feel honored that now you're on this show.
I appreciate
uh,
it. Yeah.
Now, before I let you go, though, is there anything I did not ask you that you think would benefit the audience?
I got to tell you, these foundational things are so important. And when we hit those, I was so happy to hear that, because it's that outlook on that mindset, right? Perspective is the only thing that changes events without changing the facts. And I have constantly myself and given advice about when something happens, step back. Okay, why are they doing this? Is it really even about me? That change of perspective has been a very effective way in personal, in business, in trial, right? That ability to change how you're looking at something and not just start cussing and saying it's all bad, right?
Yeah. No, I like that.
That's important. It's important to many times some of the best points I've ever had in trial are reversals, transversals of stuff that initially I thought was very hurtful to the case. And then my ability to kind of give it back in a different direction has been some of the best points I've ever made in cases. And it's all perspective. It's all your ability to think about it differently.
That's awesome, man. And this is why he wins all his cases.
There you go.
So we went full circle there, Mike.
Anybody who ever tells you they win all their cases has maybe had one. Let me just say, right?
That's awesome.
A little bit of what they call hyperbole or bullshit, whatever they call it.
Man, I'm telling you, this is the reason why PI lawyers are my favorite segment. And I mean, not to say I don't mind family law as well, but I really enjoy the PI lawyers because you guys have a different view of things. So I really appreciate you coming. And been a great episode. I'll let you get back to your.
Man. Thank you.
Same meeting you. Great meeting you as well. And would love to maybe stay in touch and do this again sometime.
I will. After this, I'll make sure you have my info and vice versa, and let's keep in touch. I'd love it.
Awesome sauce. So without further ado, folks, I am going to put an end to this episode. This has been Frank Deming, the local business guy, and you've just been blessed by the great Mike Alder. Take care, everyone. Until next week. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Law Firms, the podcast that provides you with all the latest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you would like to know more about the topic we discussed on the show today, reach out to Frank and his team at 888-416-7752 and schedule a discovery call with one of the marketing consultants. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, send an email to podcast@lbmsllc.com and we will put you on the schedule. With that being said, until next week, make it a successful digital marketing day. Peace out.